A very good morning, children. Since we have finished the supply and all the topics related to supply, now we are going to start elasticity of supply. Okay, we are going to start with elasticity of supply. Now, what is elasticity of supply? The change in the quantity supplied of a product due to change in its price is known as price elasticity of supply. Okay, so we have also seen in price elasticity of demand that how much percentage change is happening because of percentage change in price. Likewise, in price elasticity of supply, we are going to see to what percentage the supply changes to the changes in price. Okay, so the change in the quantity supplied of a product due to change in its price is known as price elasticity of supply. Now, measurement of price elasticity of supply, it happens, you just have one method that is called percentage method or proportionate method. Okay. Now, percentage method or proportionate method, it's change in quantity supplied by percentage change in price. Okay. So it's percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Okay. Now, elasticity of supply, the formula, children, that is change in quantity by change in price into price by quantity. And we all know that change in quantity is Q1 minus Q, and change in price is P1 minus P. Okay, Q is the initial quantity supplied and P is the initial price. So Q1 would be the new quantity and P1 would be the new price. Okay, so we can see the example here. Price of a good falls from rupees 15 to rupees 10 and the supply decreases from 100 units to 50 units. So calculate elasticity of supply. So Q is 100 and Q1 is 50 because it's decreasing from 100 to 50, and price is from 15 to 10. So P is 15 and the new price is 10. So elasticity of supply is change in quantity by change in price into P by Q. So 50 by 5 into 15 by 100. So that would be 1.5. So elasticity of supply is more than 1. So it is a case of elastic supply. Okay. So as you can see here, children, the different kinds of price elasticity of supply. The first is perfectly elastic supply, then relatively elastic supply, unitary elastic of supply, relatively inelastic supply, and perfectly inelastic supply. Okay, so let us see some views on them. Now, all these names, children, these the names are not given in your textbook. Okay, so please make a note of it properly. They have just given you more than one and less than one, like that. Now, coming to perfectly elastic supply. Okay, so this is a perfectly elastic supply curve. You have the price and the quantity, of course, quantity on the x-axis you will have. So when the supply for a product changes, that means whether it's going to increase or decrease, even when there is no change in price, it is known as perfectly elastic supply. Okay, so it is a case of elasticity where it is equal to infinity. We all know a small change in price is going to bring a greater change, okay, in supply. So here, as you can see, children, elasticity of supply is equal to infinity, and the supply curve is, a horizontal straight line. Okay, with this you can supply how much ever quantity you need. Okay, so it refers to a horizontal straight line supply curve showing infinite supply corresponding to a particular price of the commodity. Okay, the next, children, you have is relatively elastic supply. Now, relatively elastic supply is where your elasticity of supply is more than one. When the proportionate change in supply is more than the proportionate changes in its price, it is known as relatively elastic supply. Okay, so this is like, a large change in quantity. Since the elasticity of supply is going to be one, that means the change in supply is going to be large. Then unitary elasticity of supply, when the proportionate change in supply is equal to the proportionate changes in price, it is known as unitary elastic supply. Okay, so this particular supply curve, it's going to start from, the point of origin, that is 0. fine, and then it's going to go on. So that means the change in price is going to be equal to the change in supply, fine. So that's the reason ES is equal to 1. Then you have relatively inelastic supply. Now, children, relatively inelastic supply is where your elasticity is less than 1. And when the proportionate change in supply is less than the proportionate changes in its price, it is known as relatively inelastic supply. Okay. So as you can see here, the supply curve is starting from the x axis, not from 0, not from y. Okay. So it is relatively supply curve where your elasticity of supply is going to be less than the change in price, fine. Then you have perfectly inelastic supply curve, children. Okay, when there is no change in the quantity supplied with the change in its price, it is perfectly inelastic supply. Okay, and ES is equal to 0. Now this kind of situation, children, happens with agricultural products. Okay, we have seen the examples where whatever might be the price, the supply is not going to increase or decrease, fine. So this, all the exceptions of supply will apply here in perfectly inelastic supply. Now coming to the factors affecting price elasticity of supply, children. Now the first one talks about time factor. Now, time factor, it's like longer the period, okay, more elastic, shorter the period, relatively less elastic, because over a long period of time, factors are easily available and supply can be easily increased. Okay, so if at all the time factor is long, the elasticity is going to be more, and if it is short, it's going to be less elastic. Okay, then coming to the nature of the commodity. Okay, so perishable goods, relatively less elastic. We have seen perishable goods, whatever might be the price, they just want to finish it off. And then durable goods, definitely it's going to be elastic. Now perishable goods, children, are relatively less elastic in supply than durable goods, because perishable goods have a shorter shelf life when compared to the durable goods. Okay, then coming to the technique of production. Now, coming to the technique of production, here they talk about complex technique is inelastic. If at all you're using a complex technique of production in your business, then the supply is going to be inelastic. And if at all you're using a simple technique, then the supply is going to be elastic. Okay, so supply will be elastic, because simple technique doesn't require what do you say, complex methods. Whereas if at all you're using a complex technique, then even if the price is high, then definitely the what do you say, supply is not going to change, because the technique of production is very complicated. Okay, so the output becomes a little difficult. Then you have nature of input used. So commonly used factors, you have elastic. Specialized factors, you have inelastic. Okay, so the elasticity of supply depends on also the nature of inputs, fine. So if at all you're using, as I said, commonly available inputs, then supply will be elastic. And if inputs are not commonly available, then it is inelastic, fine. Then coming to future price expectations. So if the price is going to increase, it's going to be inelastic. And if at all you are expecting a decrease in price, it's going to be elastic. Okay. Then coming to natural constraints, children. Okay. Coming to natural constraints. So the elasticity of supply, it is the elasticity of supply is significantly influenced by natural constraints also. So if we wish to produce more, for example, say teak wood, then it will take years of plantation, so before it becomes usable. So supply of teak wood will therefore be less elastic. So natural constraints also affect the elasticity of supply. So since if at all you wish to produce teak wood, it's going to take many number of years to plant, so definitely the elasticity of supply is going to be less. Then coming to risk taking. Now, if at all you're willing to take more risk, I'll just shorten this so that you can just see. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So risk taking, children, the elasticity of supply also depends on the willingness of the entrepreneurs to take the risk. So for example, if entrepreneurs are willing to take risk of higher output, then the supply will be more elastic. Okay, on the other hand, if the entrepreneurs, they don't want to take the risk in the business, then the supply is going to be inelastic. Okay, so these are the factors which affect the elasticity of supply. Then what is the practical importance of the concept of elasticity of supply? Why do we have to study this? Because it helps in a lot of decision making. It helps in taking business decisions. It helps the government in taking the tax policy, for determining the rewards of the factors of production, and also to determine the terms of trade between the two countries. So depending on the supply, and whether it is the supply is going to be elastic or inelastic, okay, it actually practically it helps in a lot of decision making. Fine. So this is it for this class, children. If at all you have any doubts, you can always message. Thank you, children.